being yourself. I want to give you your flowers. I feel like you're someone that is very much, since a lot of us been introduced to you via just talking online, have been yourself. You know, long-standing podcast. How long has Halfcast been going now?
Nearly 6 years now.
Nearly 6 years.
Yeah.
So I'd say you're one of the in my opinion, one of the early ones of the newer wave. I know that podcasts have been around for a very long time, but the UK, in terms of what we're doing over here culturally, and our black space especially, you're definitely early. She started with yourself, Poet.
Yeah.
Dan was just producer Dan them times.
Yeah.
He was just faceless.
Yeah. Well, Dan originally, like, he was just sitting there just watching the conversations and that. And then he started, like, sometimes we talk about certain things and then I would just reference him as just producer Dan, because I just noticed he's got quite funny takes on certain things, but also he's smart, because sometimes we talk about certain other things and occasionally he might chime in with something. So now I was like, you know what, maybe he should have a mic sometimes, but we just have it low, but you could just hear him a bit better. And then, like, we did that for a little bit, but I didn't do that. I didn't actually ask him, do you want to do? I just did it. Yeah. Because I'm just like, there's no point in you just talking occasionally and
we can't hear you properly as well, you know.
And then after a while, like, when we were talking about certain other things, I'm like, nah, man, this guy is like a savage, bro. We started calling him Savage Dan. And then I actually remember the day as well. From then I was thinking, I want him. He's got something about him still. Yeah. So I wanted him more on the pod, and then Poet was also looking for a Chelsea fan for Filthy Fellas, because there weren't not much of the man them were Chelsea fans. Yeah, and that makes sense. A certain type of personality and stuff like that. And then Dan lifted up his top because he's got the tattoo crest on his chest. Yeah, and then so he was like, yeah, man, so they put him on then, and that was the first time I think people saw Dan's face. Yeah. When he was on there, and I still was putting him when he was on the pod. I was not putting a camera on his face because I just thought we'll still build into it. Even
what was the reason why you wanted to keep him somewhat anonymous and off camera at the time?
Because I didn't know if that was a life that he even wanted to have anyway. Like I don't know. Like I didn't know whether being, you know, people recognizing him and all of that type of stuff was something that he would even really want. But at the same time, he's really interesting and he's funny. And he's one of the man them, so you know what, we'll just do this for a little while, and when I could see that this is something that he actually kind of does want to do a little bit, then we'll do it. But also as well, I didn't want pressure on him. I didn't want him to think while he's on camera he has to always fully engage, because sometimes when he's off camera, he's not always engaged in a conversation. Not, sometimes he might just be on his phone or whatever it may be. Yeah. So I didn't want him to feel like now that he's on camera, he has to be engaged. Yeah. But then it gets to a point where it's like, you know what, bro? Come on, man. Come in it.
Because I always thought, like, at the time, the US podcasts were big, really edits were big. Yeah. And Wax was like a personality on there. Yeah. So he was the anonymous Don. Right. Yeah. So I saw the little similarities there. I was like, okay, maybe that might be partially part of the influence. Yeah.
You know? No, it actually wasn't. Wax wasn't it? It just was something that, and I get why you say that still, because Wax was definitely like anonymous, and
both similar in regards to you get some wild
stuff,
wild takes.
But nah, I just like it was everything that we've done. I've always wanted it to be organic in it, and so with that, it was just another organic process that just built into something, and it's sick to see like what he's done from it. But he'll also tell you that like he's not really on it.
We always having a chat today.
He's not really on it.
We had the chat today. It's weird.
Dan could easily turn around in a year's time and say, I'm not doing it.
We have the chat. It's weird to watch him be in or not on it space, but what he's doing whilst he's not on it. Yeah. So if he was to actually be on it, it would be mad.
Definitely. You know. So, but I think for him as well, he might not like or may not want what sort of comes of it, but at the same time, I think for him it's like, man them in it, and we're having a conversation about some shit, and he kind of wants to jump in on the convo. So it's one of them ones, really, innit? I think it's kind of like sometimes it's like the artist who enjoys singing and stuff, but not necessarily like, what is it? Summer Walker doesn't really like doing shows. Yeah. Summer Walker don't really like going out and mingling with people and doing all that. Yeah, like
kind of just wants to go to the studio.
She wants to go in the studio and do like be able to do that.
You're good at something, but you're not necessarily like on it, like,
and that's fair though. Like, you know, kind of leading to that conversation we were having earlier in regards to people want different things, isn't it? You know, it's like everybody's not gonna maybe want to be the Donny that is in front of 100,000 people. I might just want to release my project and pop up every now and then.
Definitely,
because, you know, I see like small players, like, look how like Andre 3000 lives his life. Donny, what's the weird instrument he just plays, walks up and down playing? Is it a flute or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and he's Andre 3000. That's bro, you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know who I am. Like, I'm living life.
And man's walking around on back streets playing the clarinet.
You know what it is as well. Yeah, sometimes you gotta, like, when you're running something, and you got people around you that are a part of it. You just kind of got to work out how the dynamics of things are gonna work so that everyone is happy. And so, like, I started to get to a point with the podcast where I was like, okay, I can see Poet doesn't want to talk about certain things, and I know that Dan, like, not every conversation is suitable for Dan. He don't want to talk about, there's certain things that he does not have no interest in at all. So now I need to gauge, like, where I can get the best out of both of them.
To facilitate the room, really, for that.
Yeah. So sometimes they're here together. There's certain things that come up and I'm like, Poet has to be here today.
Yeah.
He has to be here. And then there's other conversations where I'm like, you know what? This maybe not even for Poet. Like, Dan will come and I'll ring Dan and say, Dan, I need an hour and a half from you today. Like, well, this is what we're going to discuss. And then there's other times where it's like, I don't think it's either of them. I'll just get someone else in that will come and sit down with me and unpack it or whatever it may be, and we'll do that. So the pod has definitely changed from that side of things, but it's still my guys though. If I'm doing a live show, it's them.
Yeah. You know because it seemed like when you first started, people automatically associated Halfcast with yourself and Poet, because you had the tagline as well.
Yeah. Two guys half the size of each other, casting opinions. Yeah.
So now it's just more so Chuckie and, you know, and friends essentially.
Yeah.
Just trying to ask you, are you on a Joe Budden vibe?
Oh, nah.
Are you going to change the name of the pod?
Boy, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, they've got some things planned. Do you get what I'm saying? But
because I was going to ask, because like you kind of led into it a little bit. Is that from what you were saying earlier, before Vans said what he said? Is that maybe part of the reason why we've seen less Poet on the podcast? Because I have noticed, I'm not gonna, like, I don't pretend I see stuff in it. So like, obviously you've been having different people on different conversations, all even pre-COVID. I remember, I think one of my favorite conversations from yours, I'll say to you quickly, is when Cranium come on. I thought that was amazing. And because of your history and your background, what you like and what you love, him coming over here, he's one of the people, you're one of the people like, you have to go and sit with Chuckie when I'm looking in it. So big ups to you for that. But
that still.
So it's like, why have we not had much more Poet on the pod?
I think for me, like, there's certain conversations now that that are super interesting to me, and that, like, things that I really want to sort of unpack and get into. And, like, Poet's my brethren. Dan's my brethren, but Poet is more so my brethren. I've known Poet for a long time. And with that, with knowing someone for a long time, I know what his interests are and I know what they're not. Do you get what I'm saying? And so sometimes it doesn't make sense me bringing him here, talking about something that I know that he doesn't really have that much of an interest in. And the reason why it's dangerous doing that sometimes is because Poet is a very animated person, and he's polarizing as well. If I sometimes bring him in on a conversation that I know he's not really that interested in, he still might be animated and polarizing and just say how he feels in the moment or whatnot, But then he might end up just saying a bunch of stuff that he actually doesn't even really, he hasn't thought about, he doesn't really care about. And then sometimes it can be seen like, it can be looked at a certain type of way. So then it's like, nah, there's no point me bringing him in and having that if I know that this is something that he's not interested in. But it's wicked when I bring him here knowing that, like, he really wants to discuss this, or he really wants to talk about
soccer raid,
because he can still be polarized and he can still do all of that stuff, and people might like it and might not like it or whatever it may be, but I know in those moments he wants to be here and he wants to do that. And there has just been some times where he'll say, you know, like, sometimes he doesn't really want to, like, I'm not really that interested in it, but I do this with, like, some of the topics and stuff like that, I don't do it with the mindset of my audience, you know.
Okay.
I do it because, you know what, I'm actually kind of intrigued or interested about this, or I want to talk about it or whatever. And so I will give what I like to see.
Yeah.
I'll give what I like to see. So I focus a lot on doing stuff like that. Me and Dad had a conversation about sexual male energy. Yeah. We wasn't even supposed to. It just went there. And we started having that conversation. And then afterwards, I started really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I want to have a conversation with somebody who studied that.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone would want to sit down and be a part of it. Not everyone would even really want to watch that because they might think that's kind of boring.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to me though. So actually this week I've got someone that's come in who's like studied female and male sexual energy and balances and whatever. And it will be funny. I'm going to bring Koi in as well because I know that the dynamic between that will be good and she'll have some questions or whatever. So it's now I'm just kind of judging how the room would work on certain topics. And so that's all it is with Poet. But people were talking about, I kicked him off the podcast.
Is that what they were saying?
Yeah. Some people were saying, you kicked him off the podcast.
You got the power to do that.
I'm like, I sent it straight to him, and we just started laughing about it.
Yeah.
But I would never do that. And the thing is, as well, even then, he's always welcome to come.
Yeah.
There's never a time where it's like, oh, we'll record, bro, this is not for you, don't come. There's times where I've said, you know what, like, oh, we're recording so-and-so and about such and such today. And he said, yeah, do you know what, I'm sitting that one out.
Fair.
You know what I mean? And not even on he's just like, oh, you know what, I think that one's better for you. Urban Financer. Yeah, I got Urban Financer. Do you want to come? Do you know what, Chucks? I think that's a better conversation for you and him to have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not just me working it out. It's him as well saying, you know what? Yeah, nah, like, you know, I don't really want to do that. Or him hitting me and saying, yo, did you see thing? Like, let's, like, when are we recording?
Let's record.
Boom.
Yeah.
Come, yeah, man.
But obviously those conversations that the listener, the audience may not be privy to in it. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
why people are going to jump to their conclusion.
But people are always going to speculate as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
But sometimes speculation ain't wrong though. Like, they're not widing them mark all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's for the person to then, whenever they're ready to address.
Yeah.
That speculation wasn't 100% off. It was off in the fact of me kicking him off.
Yeah.
Or people thinking,
there's animosity
I've
between
eased
you
him
two.
out or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's not nothing to do with that. But yeah, it's a fact that you've seen him less.
Yeah.
But this is within a period of time. So like, you know, let's just say from like October to now, you might have seen him less. But from March to May, you might see him a lot more.
Of course, yeah.
Like you might see him nearly every week.
Yeah.
And then going into the next part, you might just see him a lot less again.
Obviously, people don't acknowledge the time, but when they do see him more, we just remember the time when he wasn't around much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's confirmation of like,
it's juicier for the story.
Maybe they're not getting along. So all you need is the right example to just confirm how you felt, innit?
Yeah.
That's what it really is.
You're going to get a lot of conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
listen,
man.
this is the man that likes speculation. I like us conspiracy.
I love
theory,
a speculation.
You know,
I love a conspiracy. I like some conspiracy theories as well. Some of them, but yeah, man, I love all of that. So I'm not mad when people do it over here. But more time, I just like I ignore it though. I ignore a lot of those type of things. I ignore a lot of the energy that is a bit left of center. Sometimes it's good, but for me, again, I just got a plan. And I'm trying to execute something at the moment. And for me, one of my proudest things, in doing a podcast is like nothing to do with numbers, you know. The proudest thing that I look at with my podcast is the catalogue of conversations that we've had.
Yeah.
I was going through them. Like I was going through all these different conversations, and it made me super proud. I'm actually filming something with Channel 4 at the moment, and it's about COVID stuff. Okay. And it's not just me, but they're talking to a bunch of different, like Boris Johnson's doctor and all this type of shit. Okay. But they were following me for a tiny piece, And when they came to me, originally, they were like, yeah, we came across your podcast and that, and we was talking about it. And then they were saying to me, like, because in your own weird way, you've documented the whole thing. And I thought, yeah, like, I didn't really think about it like that. Like, obviously, I know that we came in on the day that Boris announced the lockdown. No, we talked about it a little bit before then we talked about it on the day that he announced the lockdown. Me and Dan, and then throughout the time we've just been talking about it and done episodes and whatever. And then once I came off the phone, I actually started going back and thinking, shit, like you could see all of these different moods in the time period of all of that, and that's there forever. You get me? So like for me now, it's just about trying to like open up the interest, like open up my own interest, learn stuff, catch joke, chat shit, learn stuff again, have an element of balance, Hopefully people learn with me, joke with me, chat shit with me, and do all of that type of stuff. And you know what I'm saying? We just kind of create some memories on that from that perspective.
With you talking about obviously catalog, what have been your top 3, top 5 favourite conversations you've had on the podcast?
The heartbreak one with Dan and Skits. I can't remember what that was called.
That's hilarious.
First heartbreak, some shit like that. The tricky episode.
Okay.
12 things men fear but don't talk about.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know.
So tricky.
The tricky
12
episode.
things, heartbreak with Skits and Dan.
And 12 things men fear that don't talk about. Oh God, I can't. Do you know what? I don't know. You know,
There's a lot to choose from, man. So
I'm putting you on the spot
easy.
still, but
it's not easy. How do you navigate like with relationships and stuff, like with artists, when certain things come out about them that you choose to discuss on the podcast?
What do you mean? Like,
do you like have to protect, your relationships, like, because, or can you have an honest opinion on, let's say, a project?
Yeah.
When it comes out, like, does that affect anything? Bro,
see with me, I always want to be able to have an honest conversation about a project, but one thing that is difficult for me is that, like, whoever I'm sitting with doesn't always want to engage in it, and that's not just poet. Could be anyone.
Yeah,
that could be anyone. And like, I don't want to just sit with anyone. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't want to just sit that, because I just feel like, I don't know, that's just not. It's not in my nature to just sit and discuss anything with just anyone. Yeah. I know I could sit there and go on my Instagram and say, who wants to discuss Sketch's album with me, and there'll be loads of people that want to do that. But like, I don't even know what you know. Yeah. So like, say we could be sitting down and dissecting an album, but you don't even love the culture like that. Like, you don't even really know nothing about it. You don't know that there's bare references in there that you don't understand, or you understand what I'm saying? So like, trying to find the right person to do that is very difficult at times. The only time that I felt or was in a tricky situation discussing something was around the time Dave talked about the Stop and Search thing.
Okay.
And that's my best friend's artist.
Of course, yeah. You've been open about that. So
So like, that was difficult for me, because it was like, although I knew where he was coming from, I didn't want to sit on the pod and like completely slander my guy's artist like that. Yeah. But also, see, the thing with me, is like, that's not my thing anyway. I never go on any platform and completely just mash people to bits. Yeah. Sometimes other people might come on and they might be very opinionated, and because there's a bunch of us in the room, naturally, if you're an artist, you're just looking at us all in the room and not saying,
joint enterprise. It's
all of that. So I understand that, but it was something that we needed to discuss. Yeah. And so I rang my guy and said to him, listen, like, this is a conversation that we're gonna have or whatever. And I knew how passionate Poet was about that subject. Right. So that was probably the one time where I'd say that, like, I didn't ignite the flame too much, because I didn't want him to go too. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the same time, we had to discuss it. We had to talk about it. Some things, where I feel people get what I do mixed up, is they think that because we talk about certain things that we'll talk about absolutely anything. And there's certain things for me that I don't feel is for me to discuss. So for example, I remember the Rated Awards. There was an incident that happened at the Rated Awards. When I didn't even hear about the incident until the next day. Right. And the next day, I recorded the podcast in the morning. So I got a text message saying, boom, such and such has happened or whatnot. I'm not going on my platform and talking on something that I don't know if is even true.
I got the same DM you got. I remember, a lot of us got that DM at the time. With the footage, with X, Y, and Z, this happened. Right. People are shook to not to talk about it. Are you going to talk about it?
So now, for me, now that I know what the situation was, I'm looking at it like, I'm not going on the pod and saying, this person did that and took the knife out, and that's not, I just don't feel that's a constructive conversation to have. For me, the constructive conversation to have is, how does violence at an award show affect the culture?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a conversation for me to have.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So like for me, when there's certain situations that are being happening, I'm like, okay, all I'm trying to do is work out, all right, cool. What's the teachable moment and what is the wider conversation to have? If there isn't a wider conversation to have, then for me, sometimes there's no point having them type of conversations. Do you get me?
But I will stop you here though. This is as someone, as much as we do a pod and we've been running for a long time, whatever, I still sit in a fan seat, and I don't know how listeners feel about this, but I feel it's a good opportunity for maybe people that watch your stuff, listen to your stuff, who may not get a chance to actually sit next to you and ask these questions. When you say that, I think those are the times where they look at you maybe making a mistake, because the premise of that conversation is such and such incident. So when you don't either address it, talk about it, it feels like you're either totally ignoring it, sidestepping it. I understand why, especially that example. I wouldn't expect anyone to come on here, because if you was to talk about that thing properly, you have to have the proper conversation, and that's street shit.
Context,
and that's not really fun. It's context. So, and if you really was to talk about it, you're saying too much, and everyone that's involved or allegedly involved, whatever, hasn't come out, other than obviously victim, whatever, and that person's in a hurt space. So you just got to take that with a pinch of salt, innit? But as I'm trying to think of what would be some of the other examples, some just like UK industry stuff.
I'll give you one.
That when they're like
the Wretch and
yeah,
Scorcher
that's
thing.
probably the first one. And I watched that and I'm like, the critique was like, we're not going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it, but talk about not talking about it. I'm sat there frustrated and like, just don't have the conversation.
Right.
Either have it or don't have it. I understand why.
Yeah.
I respect the man say straight. Like, see, like even with the Benny thing and Dave, like I don't think anybody should even have an issue. Like that's my best friend. That's his artist. I'm not even touching that.
Yeah.
And if you have and navigate, say, you know what, them man over there are gonna talk about it. Go to them. But with the Wretch, with the Scorcher,
see with the Wretch one, I would probably say in the whole of my catalogue, that one particular conversation there, I actually hated it.
Okay.
Because if I'm being honest, like I remember sitting in the room thinking, this is something that I feel we can discuss now, because I know a lot of people are asking me about it from before, but I was like, I'm not discussing it unless it's in music. Unless if someone gives me something to discuss, then I'll talk about it. Listen, let me tell you something. Yeah, when Wretch's album dropped, I scanned for a bar.
Yeah,
I scanned for a bar so that I could. So then maybe it could be a thing to discuss.
You need something.
I need some, but I can't. It's irresponsible for me to come out and say, yo, what's this I'm hearing my man's doing a thing, and that's mad because he's in. But that's, to me, I can't do that. And I understand as a fan, people want to see it. People want to see people doing that. And sometimes I want to see it. But I'll tell you now, I'm not that guy. I can't go out and take a man's business and just go out on my platform and start talking about it like that. But if it's in a bar, then we can discuss it. The reason why I hated that conversation in particular is because it was in a bar this time. Because remember,
Scorcher had
the Daily Duppy,
but then he blanked it.
Yeah.
He blanked the piece.
But then it was like, my misstep was that I didn't gauge the room properly beforehand. Okay. So when I've mentioned it, I could see the faces, and I'm like, okay, so now I could see I'm gonna end up just talking. No one's engaging in this with me or whatever, and then it just got really weird. And I remember leaving.
Imagine leaving man hanging like that.
And it's frustrating, you know.
Yeah.
Because you sat here like, you know, deep down, if the cameras are off, man are talking crazy, man are talking how they really want to talk, and like there's nothing else you're trying to. It's like you're leading. You're literally asking a question, answering it. You're throwing like no one's really.
But for me as well, like the guys that I'm in the room with, they're my friends as well, and I'm like, I could see how awkward it was, and I remember leaving, and someone came up to. I left, and I thought, that's never going to happen again. Yeah, I knew straight away this is never going to happen again. And I remember I was in Oxford Street, and some guy come up to me, and he was like really upset. And when he was talking to me about it, I understood though.
What was you upset about?
That it wasn't discussed. Okay. There was an opportunity to discuss it, and we didn't discuss it properly, and there was nothing for me to say. And for me, that time there was like a big learning curve for me. Fair, and for that, I realized again, this was going into the process of the transition of the pod, of like working out who's good for what conversations. I didn't know still at this time who's good for what and whatever it may be. So I'm still all trying to work this out. I've dipped my toe in the water of it, and I realized, okay, cool. If now these two engage in some type of war, whatever, I'm not going to invite.
It's not,
them,
it's not for them. Yeah,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's fair.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
No, you're like me. Listen, we sit.
But I can't do it on myself. I can't do it on my own.
We don't have. It's different for us, innit? We had the grown chat about it. We're gonna lean into the funnies as well. Yeah. We spoke because like we heard the reference about Hulk Hogan on the Daily Duppy. Everyone's heard the rumor off that was nothing to do with music. So man's not met anyone. Yeah. We're gonna have our chat. But I understand even within that, it's still speculation. No one truly knows. We just know what we've been told, innit? So.
But also as well, I feel this is just my perspective is that like, sometimes like we'll sit and we'll talk about all of these different things or whatnot, but there's times where I feel like I love this thing so much that there are times where I feel like I want to protect the culture at the same
I'm with you.
too.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so like going to the situation with, let's say, the Rated Awards, for example, not only is this a police investigation, this is a police investigation. I'm gonna come out and say this artist did blah blah. No. Then for them to use the video in court. No, I'm not trying.
Anyone asking for that is an idiot. They're selfish because this is my perspective, me speaking, with what happened on that day, it should never, for me personally, it should never even got that far. It's someone, and it's very easy for me to say, what you need at that moment is someone to be selfless. Yo, my man, grab you, put you in the back of my car, hospital, because in that moment, this thing gets to the police, the authorities. We're never using that venue again. That brand name is tarnished. It's so far reaching more than the actual incident. Now we're happy such and such didn't lose their life in that. Blessings to them, and they look like they're doing much better in a much better space. But when I saw that, knowing the kind of eminence that we grew up, I'm like, yo, how's no one just grab my man and go? Because we also, man should have even seen that footage. That's something.
I didn't even see the footage.
No, that's the sad thing. I saw the footage, innit?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand where we're going to where like I could get that on a WhatsApp. Like that stuff is mad. You talking about protecting culture?
Yeah, I've been around for a long time, and I've also seen there's certain things that are super normal now that was not normal at a stage. Like, you know, you're looking at certain artists that have got like publicists and, you know, they're walking around with a team full of people.
Stylists.
That was not, at a point, that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Man walking around with 500 grand watches and all these type of things. Bro, there was only, at one point, only Dizzy would have had a big watch and Ras Clark Tiny would have had a big watch.
Mega Man.
Now there's enough youths that's got that or whatever, But so the scene has grown, but at the same time, it's like, because I've seen so much things within this, there's still a part of me where it's like, we're going to discuss certain things, but there's going to be the occasional time where I might feel like, you know what, I may be a little bit easy on this one because I want to protect the culture or I want to protect a certain dynamic in something. That's me. But there's other times, more often than not, I'm trying to have the conversation.
I think it's more so like
conversation. People don't even like it. When I sit and talk about Chip here, sometimes I will have a podcast and I will say how cold this guy is,
and someone will spin it for the narrative.
No. This is what will happen here. I will sit and have a conversation about how cold he is.
Yeah.
And I've done it so many times. Like, he's so cold, boom, this, that. You know, play back certain things or whatnot. And then I might, like, you know, another a month later, something might happen. I didn't love it. I just thought it was a bit off. And so we'll discuss it. And I'll discuss it and I'll say how I feel about it. And then all of a sudden I get all of these people talking about, oh, you hate him and you hate this, that, and, you know, you're biased. That's it. So it's like, okay, I tell you how I feel about something and then you tell me that I'm biased or whatever it is. But that's okay. That's okay.
But you watch though.
Okay. Huh?
That's my thing. You watch though.
Yeah, of course.
And we're not saying you're doing it for that, but you watch. You gave your opinion. I gave mine. But sometimes you got a pinpoint, because we've had it here. Like, man have got a pinpoint and say, no, you lot are also being biased because that's what you hone in on. Maybe you're drawn to negativity because a month ago we spoke on, like, we came on and had like I've had my own misgivings with some of his moves musically, where he's at, blah blah blah. He came and gave us a project. And I felt we came and gave like a proper balanced review. Critique with love, spoke on what we like. You get the DMs and people only go to minute 18 where you spoke about, I didn't like this song. But I've told you I liked the last 6 of the project. Like the way he closed the project, Hot 97, like him just barring, you don't acknowledge that at all. So it's just...
It's part of the thing. And so that, to me, it doesn't affect anything that I do. Because I say all of the time, if I've got a personal issue with someone, I'm not talking about them.
Yeah.
If I've got, if they've done something that has personally, and trust me, there's been certain things that certain artists have done or whatever that I did not like on a personal one, and I've not mentioned it because this is like I just feel like I'm abusing my platform now. I got a personal issue with such and such. We may have had a young tense text message back or whatever it is, and now I'm gonna go on my platform and go mad. Like, nah, man, that's misusing my platform.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think
now,
like more people want to know your takes on like when disses are being thrown at each other. Yeah. So like how you have a Chip and Stormzy.
I'm on all of that.
Like back and forth, innit? Like I think more people would like to know what the opinion is on that, because that is forever going to be speculated. Like, who got one over the other?
You know, there was some people that was saying that I was the one who fueled that. By the way,
with what?
You know that situation between them, because again, I was speculating on some bars, innit?
Yeah.
But he left it open. Chip left it open. It was obvious, bro. Like, bro, you left it open. So like, you knew what you was doing.
People, so then obviously people then. See, it's weird, isn't it? It's like you give what some people want, and then when you give it to them, they don't want it, or they don't like that because this is your take or whatever it may be. And like, bro, you're going around in circles with some of them. But my thing is never to try and please them. My thing is just to have conversations and talk about how I feel within things within our culture and around it. Catch some joke, critique some stuff. But yeah, I'm still at the moment. I'm still like, and I know I've said this a few times, but there's still a certain dynamic or a space for someone to come and sit down and talk with me about a specific type of thing, whether it be music or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out exactly who it is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And once I get that, once I get it and I get those dynamics, bro, we're flying. Because I already know what Poet is really good for. I already know what Dan is really good for. I already know what Callum is good for.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just kind of, and then just like sometimes bringing friends of the shows in, you know, skits, Koi, and just bringing certain people in just to, you know what I mean, test it. And then once I've got that perfected, then we're good.
I think you've built it to the point where like people are still going to watch regardless of who you bring on.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be your element to the show, where you bring out the conversation, and all it is that for the guests to kind of respond or add in a positive way to the conversation.
It's important.
But yeah, man, I'd probably say, as I said, the only thing in that catalogue that I've got that I hated was that, man. And I remember leaving here that day thinking, we missed it, man. Like we actually really missed it. And like, I know Wretch came and we sat down and had a conversation, and I know some people were kind of like, like, why did you not ask him about that? And I'm like, how, if it's not in the music, like, how do I discuss his personal innings like that, like to bring to the I can't.
People want the punch.
No, do you know what it is, Chucks? Yeah, I'm gonna be keeping all their funky with you. In that space there, you've got to pick a side. You pick. Am I feeding the streets completely, or am I keeping some level of integrity and not going down the lane of, you know, it's got to be via the music,
or it's got to be from him?
But that's what I'm saying, because integrity is like, you want your default position is, I'm only really having this conversation if you've given me it in the music.
Yeah, or you're giving it to me in art.
So you've expressed yourself in your art form. I think you were speaking was about the rapology at the time. When he was on. So it was even that type of setting. It wasn't really for the salacious convo to a certain degree. But the streets want this. But the problem is, how many of these moments am I going to get on a weekly, monthly basis? So if I'm going to give you that, you look at riding me to the wheels full of. So there's that balancing act of almost being villain of the piece, where like maybe the noticeable people that come in the room come in, maybe they're backslide. They like that whole Charlemagne thing where it's like you're waiting for the kind of spar, the energy of, is he going to ask the obvious question? Is he going to throw them off? You can't always do it.
Yeah.
You've got. My thing.
It depends on like the relationships that you maintain with the same people that you ask to sit down on that very.
Is it worth the risk?
I feel like it could have been done.
Yeah,
it could have been done. Like someone could have sat down and said, "Yo, what's this I'm hearing about?"
That's what it takes.
Yeah, yeah. But like, it's just, I don't know, that's
Yeah,
just something
and the maddest thing is that you can't dictate the response.
Yeah.
No, but his job in that space there, for those people that want that, is to only ask.
Yeah.
Whatever you get back is what you get back. But your job is to ask. Even if my man goes, I'm not talking about that. For them, they've got
That's
you
enough.
on their real nigga mural. And
you're right.
For that week, Chuckie's met his real nigga quota. That's what it is. We've had it before. I think what happened, was it sometimes you come in there, you have your format you might want to talk about, and you go off on a different conversation. We didn't speak address the Dutch thing on like bang on that week. We got a DM and it was in jest. Someone's like, they felt we ducked the conversation. I'm like, bro, I can speak about it next week.
Like we just literally like, and that goes for context purposes, because no one knows the days that you come in to record.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like they just get the product when they get the product in it, and sometimes they may even get a product late, or it could be a person that don't listen to us regularly, so they don't know our schedule.
Yeah.
So
but
it's
that
just
week
like,
is a salacious week on the blogs. It's a big talking point.
Yeah.
How comes you haven't spoken about it? Okay, it must have dropped right as we were speaking, or literally like the next day.
So just know this though, in this context, I'm keeping the same energy with everyone.
Yeah.
Like if Notes, let's just say, like there was a speculation between like Notes and another, like Notes take a teeth in a man's gal or whatever it may be, or whatever the situation is. Yeah. But it's that type of speculation.
You're leaving it alone.
I'm probably gonna leave that alone. Like if I know how deep their thing is, I'm gonna leave that alone until there's something somewhere that you give me that can give me the ins to discuss it and talk about it with you. I just feel like there's certain things for me personally that it just feels like the right thing for me to do. I just don't know if I'd feel comfortable in putting someone in a mad position to discuss something that is so personal and very deep between them. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm hearing, I don't know how serious it actually really is, but I'm hearing certain things from behind the scenes and I'm like, how do I, knowing what I know, how serious this could potentially be, then come and out loud have that conversation? If I was none the wiser, then maybe it might be different. Do you get what I'm saying? If I'm not hearing nothing about nothing and I'm sitting down, I might just turn around and say, yo, like,
well, go on.
I might hint and joke about it and see if we can bring it up that way. But if I'm hearing, yo, this is, and my man, and I don't know if this is true, but these are things that are happening, and then now I'm going to come and then add to that for it to even be more of a thing, it just wouldn't feel comfortable with me. And I know that not everyone is to know that. Not everyone is to know what I know, or not everyone is to see all of the stuff that is behind the scenes. At the end of the day, they're looking at my content and saying, you're talking, bro. So why are you not talking today? But I just understand that sometimes if there's a day that I ain't talking, I know some things. I just know something.
But they don't care. They want you to share, because of the thing, even what you're saying now, I hope it's from, like you said, the standpoint of like integrity. I have a certain position. On a certain level, the power's been stripped away, because maybe you didn't ask, maybe you didn't have the Wretch Scorcher conversation, you didn't ask Wretch a question. If you then go and, like you said in a Notes example, go and ask him, and then the first thing that's going to be said is, "Raw, you did that. My man didn't ask him." So the power's been kind of stripped away. So it's like, even though I generally feel like you're being honest, like this is your stance. Going forward, it has to be consistent energy where like certain things aren't for me. And if somebody else wants that lane, let them have it.
Yeah, of course.
And this is what it is. We was talking earlier about
if you give it to me in the art, I'm in though.
Yeah,
if it's no matter how deep it is, if you give that to me in the art, I'm in.
No, I'm with you. You dress it in music. We're talking about you can't complain, you can't fight.
This is what you say.
Even if you draw it, if you draw it or you in some type of art, it comes out. That's me. I'm taking that, and we're gonna have a conversation about it.
Because a few years ago it was chatty patty, and now it's funny. Like I just look on the internet, and every there's a lot of sofas and a lot of mics.
Steady.
It's not a diss. I'm just saying it's funny to see it come full circle. I love it. It's good, but it might be conversation we have off camera. I can see a certain direction, and I just don't want some of us to get.
Everyone's got a podcast.
I didn't say that. I just said there's a lot of mics and there's a lot of sofas.
Well, everyone wants to have a conversation.
Yeah, everyone's having a conversation,
and everyone wants to provide. Everyone wants to.
It's perspective. Everyone's got a perspective, their opinions. It's good.
Just do it, because all I would say is more time. Just do it because that's just what you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't. I think it's whack. To come out and say, I'm going to start something and I'm going to be the one to finally say it. Yeah. No, do that because you just want to do it. Don't do it because you want to be this. You want to create this this facade, like, you get what I'm saying? You just want to be, I'm going to be the Charlemagne, or I'm going to be this, or I'm going to be that. I don't respect that. I always just see straight through that. But if I can see that this is the person that you genuinely are, and that's what you're on, then it makes it more authentic to me. And I'll watch that and I'll fuck with it.
So I was going to say, before we went off a little bit, was referencing like, just like protecting the culture a little bit. So we've had some news, I think it's today, DJ Vlad, his platform's coming to the UK, and we're going to have that hosted, presented by DJ Double. And now some of the stuff we were talking about in regards to conversations that maybe missteps or things that people thought you should have spoken about, I feel like that platform, that's a free-for-all in regards to those type of conversations that people might look down upon. How do you feel about that platform coming to the UK and Double presenting on there?
Personally, go on.
No, it's for this room, not like anyone, it's for the room.
Do you know what? It's I knew about Double from when I was at Bang Radio for a little bit. So, you know, I've met him a few times. Cool brother at the time. And I haven't followed anything that he's done since. I know that he had a YouTube review channel or something like that. And he made headlines last year for saying something mad. I don't know if I got it. I can't remember what it was, but
oh yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
So yeah, something, and I was like, well, like that
wasn't that long ago though. I think that was like maybe like 3 months ago. So like, yeah, I can't remember.
It's been a long 2020 month.
Yeah, I hear that stuff.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see that direction taken by Vlad.
I'm not surprised he wants a presence here because I feel like he's come here and he's done interviews with Carla. I don't know if Carla was here or
he done a Carla. He did Section Boys. He
Gigs.
He did. He's done quite a few.
Because No Jumper have come over and done some content.
I was just about to say the same thing.
I can see those people coming over here, and like Stormzy said, you man love the Americans too much. I'm sorry, bro. There's bare of us over here that man don't come and talk to. And can I knock you? Those are massive platforms.
Bro, people say that people love America too much. Them, like the people that are over there now, love what's going on over here.
Yeah. So I'm not mad that he's created the presence here. Because it was inevitable, innit, from a business standpoint, and just for a broadened version of what he's already built in the States, you know, like to have it here, it's thriving, it's popping.
New territory, innit?
It's just surprising at the person that he chose. For me,
I'm not surprised he chose that. What I'm interested in seeing is he gonna keep the kind of energy we're talking about into certain conversations? Is he gonna go down that lane? Because it's almost like a bit of a blueprint for Vlad with regards to the street shit. Those direct questions about when did you get arrested? What crime did you commit? The stuff that we're like, oh, he's a police informant. Those type of questions. I've not seen Double really do that before, because I've seen him. People like him and SK Vibe Maker, for me, outside of all the obvious people who've consistently over the years had decent chats with artists and stuff. So that's where I was surprised. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to keep the ethos of VladTV, you know, so it'll be interesting to see.
So for me, as you said, I'm not surprised about this at all. Like, I'm not surprised that Vlad wants to come here and get interviews done and whatnot. And like, obviously, No Jumper's doing it now, or has been doing it for a minute as well. Yeah. And like, it makes a lot of sense for them to do that. And I think that there's you can look at it almost in a fair exchange, in a sense that like, okay, cool, you want to come and you want some intel on what's going on over here, and you've already got a platform that has got 7 million subscribers or whatever it may be. So there's big numbers and people can get into it, and you can start, as a fan, so for me, watching Vlad, there's been certain people that he's spoken to that I have had no real interest in, but then like their stories have been quite interesting, and then all of a sudden I start going down a rabbit hole and trying to understand what they're about, and then I start to find out more about their world. Hence, that's kind of the way how Drake started getting involved in what was happening over here. He was saying that he was on YouTube and he was watching like some London gang shit, found odd ads and like a bunch of others, and then before you know it, you just go down this rabbit hole and you start seeing, this is what's going on over here. With Double, he actually does, and this is one thing that I give Double, because I watch a lot of his interviews. He's been doing interviews for a long time, and there's two things that you will see. Two things that you will see quite often with Double interviews, in big fairness to him, enough times artists leave his interview saying, right, that was really good.
Right.
Like that was really like they're sitting down thinking he probably doesn't really know what he's talking about.
I know it's the
like it's a
appearance.
promo, right?
It's
You
the
know what I'm
appearance as
saying?
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the interviews that he does do, because he doesn't have the leverage, he's like he's doing the promo run thing where they're sitting down on the couch and they're doing like 5 or 6 interviews that day sometimes. So you know, it's very different from the mindset of the artist who is like, for example, they're coming to do the pod, so they're leaving to wherever they're going, and then they're sitting down on the couch, going to a studio, and they're sitting down and doing
I'm
that.
gonna give you 2 hours of fire content rather than you're my 6th interview of the day,
right?
And I've only got 10 minutes and I'm not eating.
But what he does do is in his interviews, one, he does display that he knows what he's talking about, and 2, you will see that he like tries to push. Like, and ask certain questions to see whether they are going to go down that hole with him. Yeah. Now, I spoke to Double, and Double had said to me that when he spoke to Vlad, and like they were having this thing going or whatever, he'd actually told Vlad that like the culture here is very different to Americans. And so there's certain artists that are not going to want to talk about stabbing man and shooting man and doing all of that. In America, the way that they are, they're quite flamboyant with a lot of different things. They're flamboyant with success. You know what I mean? When they're out there. Now we're starting to see it a bit. We're starting to see it here. But even over here, it's still frowned upon a little bit. Do you get what I'm saying? You might see Skepta in a Rolls Royce with the stars and that on there, and you'll still see people saying, look at he thinks he's fat, but is he treating his girl? You know, like some shit like that. Yeah. Like
did you buy a mama house? Bro,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
She's on her 3rd house.
For me, I look at that and I think that is the sickest thing. Do that because I remember what it was like when it wasn't that. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I love seeing these men doing these type of things. But over here, over there, it's cool though. It's the same with violence and shit. These men are on like talking, not rapping, talking about all of the mad shit that they look at the Soldier Boy thing. You're not getting that here. You're not getting. Remember Soldier Boy talking about I saw the nigga, right? I saw
bare jewelry just clanking.
For context, Soldier was on coke, and that incident self-defense. So that one I don't mind.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great one, by the way. That's a bro.
That's a freaky Zeke one.
But the thing is, Freaky's on. Bro, that was amazing.
Put a nigga in a full Nelson.
Exactly. And he's like this. Oh my God.
So he's got the hammer.
Yeah. And he's like, oh man.
And I backed it out on his mans.
Yeah. But
now you know what I mean? It's an energy. We're a lot more we're conservative.
Yeah.
And also like
man are talking about it in the music.
Yeah, no, that's the funny thing. Like, do you know what it is? Do you know where if Double wanted, even though I wouldn't rate that, but I understand there is a market for it. If he wanted to have that Vlad style in-depth conversation with people that want to talk about violence, it would be the drillers. So the man that might want to come on there with the balaclavas on and say, well, you know, all the number gangs come and say that I've done this, smoking on such and such. But it will get frowned upon because the thing is, what? We hear it in the music. But I remember what was then what's the was it No Censor? It was a song No Censor where they were going too mad with regards to the dead people. It got taken down.
They got taken down.
Yeah. Like we have like a threshold where it's like, okay, cool, fun's over. Yeah. No more.
And to be honest with you, I'm on that because I feel like that's where the art becomes all mad. Like if I don't mind a man talking about we
leave it open.
You understand what I'm saying? But if it's a whole thing of, we went to Tyrone's yard, cut the neck off, we saw him in the coffin and he died, and he actually did die, and they did cut. I'm like,
and he was really cool, Tyrone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That actually really did happen. I'm kind of like, we're not like
it's too much.
I'm not, and I'm not discussing that.
And I think the opposite of it are mad as well. So this is obviously black culture. So having someone that isn't of our race then sat there asking those questions always feels off. Right. So I already can see the obvious backlash if they were to go down that. That's why I was asking the question of like, number one, do we like it? Vlad. Because it's funny, like, he gets the backlash and I think it's justified, but then you can go on there and see conversation with Akala and see conversation with people from Nation of Islam. He's got an amazing conversation with Darkchild. There are certain chats with him where it's like, raw. Yeah. So it's not just the young youths on lean that want to sit there and talk about all their violence. But those are the ones that are prevalent.
And that's the thing, I guess like time will tell in the way that like in what it is that he's trying to get out of it. Yeah. Because the reality is anyway is that like you're gonna get like there will be some certain conversations and stuff that I'm sure will be uncomfortable and you know, certain man will discuss and talk about. But the reality is most men are actually just not talking about the full smoke anyway.
Of course, yeah.
They're just not talking about the full smoke.
Do you know what? I heard Vlad is not even physically present in the lot.
He's in like another.
Like, he's in like
people talking to like a laptop or screen. Like, it's mad, bro.
Look how big America is, bro.
Yeah,
like, look how big it is. So, you know, it's all he needs to do is get a cameraman in each state or whatever it is, and just set it up and whatever, and just do that. And you can tell sometimes because you can hear, like, when he's trying to make the audio right, if they're both laughing or something you can kind of hear it. But so in that way, he could have probably done it himself here, but I think he probably needed to have someone who
like
knew,
a correspondent.
Yeah, that who knew.
It's gonna make that transition a bit smoother as well if you have someone from the ground. It makes it more authentic. And I mean, the initial one we're gonna get is with Bando K and what's the other kid from OFB? I've forgotten the guy's name. Apologies. You
talking about the picture that they released?
Yeah. So in terms of like your first interview to launch, not a bad look.
That's not a bad look at all. I wanted to talk to Bando K.
Yeah, I've not heard them talk too much in it, so it'll be interesting, you know. And like outside the music, I've seen some like captions on Insta sometimes and tweets every now and then. I'm like, there's probably a little bit more to you than like the music meets, isn't it? So someone like him is, like you said, would be an interesting conversation to be had in it.
There's a lot to talk about with Bando,
of course, historically,
because of his dad and all of that type of stuff. But also,
would that be the right place to speak about that though?
No, how do you not? How do you have that? How do you not?
Would that be the right place?
Who? For Bando?
Yeah.
How do you not? Let me tell you something now.
If
Double sat down with him,
doesn't ask that,
and doesn't talk about that,
you're gonna message him and say, "What?
You can't not. Like anyone who's sitting down with Bando would have to. It's what makes you good though. Yeah. What makes you good in those dynamics is how you get him to paint the picture and unfold. Because you could sit and say, "Oh, your dad was Mark Duggan," like. You know, how did you feel about that? Then he might just answer the question and then you just move on. That's dead.
Yeah.
Like, really trying to get where his mind was at is where it shows you whether you're good at having a conversation and getting things out of someone or whether you're not.
I know what you're saying though, Vans. Maybe for him, in terms of Bando himself, that might not be the best place to have the convo, but in terms of like in terms of viewer and like people that sit here and like have conversations,
we want his perspective.
Whether you know Double or not, if he sat there and even reference it once, you've missed. It's one of the even like, you know, you got a dry spell in a conversation. Yeah, that's one of the things you should go to because like
it's like a through ball to an open goal.
Yeah, but it's the most obvious thing to ask. You address it, and like I said, it just depends where you position it in the chat,
and how you unpack it as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot more. It'd be interesting to actually hear because he's directly affected. That's his dad. Like we know him. He's a forever immortalized London rights. But like that was your pops. How do you feel? You know, so you know. And
it'll be interesting to see what happens with that still.
Yeah. I think my point still stands though. Fair exchange, big platforms. You want a presence here, but please don't start sidestepping our platforms here to just do that. And be complaining because there's always that talk about, you know, artists come out, their promo runs. There's so many of us out here having conversations. You know, they're more than entitled. We live, it's democracy, capitalist society. You want a new territory in that, but like, I don't want to see man jumping to the Americans and going and giving them some of our best content. When there's so many of us that you could talk to. Yeah, you know, and then if you get mishandled, then start complaining because you're gonna get a salacious caption for one of the videos. From Vlad, you are.
Yeah, of course.
Say something wrong. That is the head. That's the
they're
title
using
for the video,
of course.
Yeah, don't complain in it.
That's what drives the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.